haunting details about the murder of 17-year-old Tierra Hall. Her ex-boyfriend, Kelton Fox, is charged with killing her.
Tierra Hall lived with her mother, Kotea, in Durham, North Carolina. 3 years earlier, they had moved from Texas, but Tierra was settling into her new life in Durham. At the time of her death, she was attending Jordan High School. Tierra was described as goofy and was always making faces to make someone laugh. She could make friends with anyone, but was especially close with her best friend, Amia. Tierra and Amia were described as two peas in a pod and had plans to spend the upcoming spring break together. On Friday, March 27th, 2015, Tierra was getting ready for the last day of school before spring break. She told her mom she loved her and left for the day, not knowing it would be the last time they'll see each other. She never came home that night, but her mother thought she was with her friends. The next day, on March 28th, the police received a call. A man said he and his girlfriend discovered what they thought was a woman sleeping at an abandoned house on Trotter Ridge. This house was just 2 miles from Jordan High School. Before we continue learning more about this case, don't forget to subscribe and hit that like button. And now let's get back to the story. The police arrived and knew immediately that the young victim was deceased. She was a young black female wearing gray sweatpants and a t-shirt with Elmo on the front. The crime scene was described as brutal. Tierra had been stabbed 14 times and had injuries to her head, neck, face, and chest. Near the body was a phone case and graffiti that read "King K the Savage." Inside her pocket, the police found a hall pass from Jordan High School. The high school had several surveillance cameras, so they reached out the assistant principal, Michael Irving. Michael said he received a phone call while he was checking emails. He met the police at the high school and went through the cameras. The police knew what Tierra was wearing and how she had her hair styled. Soon, she was spotted walking through the hallways, just going about her day. Tierra walked into a classroom. The police walked into the classroom and found Tierra's backpack. The classroom computer was also left on, and her name was in the bottom corner. Michael said it was a shocking moment, as he had known Tierra since she was a freshman. Kotea was notified about her daughter's death. She said she didn't hear much of the conversation after the police said they needed to inform her about something. Kotea said she didn't know why anyone would want to hurt Tierra, and still doesn't understand to this day why it happened. Kotea was able to tell the police about seeing Tierra before she left for school, and that she didn't come home that night. Kotea also gave the police Tierra's cell phone number so they could analyze her records. They weren't able to find her cell phone at the scene. On Sunday, March 29th, the police canvassed the area near the crime scene. One witness said they knew that one of the neighbors had surveillance cameras. The homeowner was more than happy to help and let the police watch their footage. A black SUV can be seen driving in the area, however, it turned out that the car wasn't involved. Around 12:40 p.m., a male figure was seen walking down the road in the direction of the Trotter Ridge house. Tierra follows him just a minute or so later. The police went back to Jordan High School and were able to find footage of this male student and Tierra interacting. He was tall with dreads, wearing a red long-sleeve shirt and blue pants. At first, the conversation seemed friendly until he is seen snatching something from Tierra. It was believed that he took her cell phone. The cameras followed him and Tierra walking out of the school and about 2 miles in the direction of the Trotter Ridge house. The male returns to school alone and walks into the bathroom with his long sleeves pulled over his hands. The male eventually leaves school with an older female. He was last seen wearing a black jacket and backpack. The police contacted Michael Irving again. Michael was able to identify the male student as Kelton Fox, Tierra's ex-boyfriend. He said he saw Kelton that day. Kelton told him he wasn't feeling well and was picked up in the office by his mom. The police went back to the high school to search and swab the men's bathroom. Inside the bathroom, the police found traces of blood. Kelton had blood on his hands and came into the bathroom to wash it off. On Tuesday, March 31st, 2015, Kelton Fox was arrested. The police asked him if he knew why he was in handcuffs. He replied, "Because one of my friends is gone and they need to find out who did it." Kelton's mom was hysterical when they told her that Kelton was being arrested for murder. Kelton and his mom were both taken to the police station. Kelton denied being involved and said he never left the school property. A warrant had been obtained for their home. In Kelton's bedroom, the police found several knives and axes. They found notebooks with King K the Savage, and several pages outlining Kelton's obsession with Tierra. Kelton had written that he believed Tierra cheated on him. He couldn't take it, and also wrote some dark things, including, "Killing is my hobby." Kelton's mom said she knew that Kelton carried a pocket knife with him, but she was obviously in shock that her son could kill another human being. Kelton's shoes were confiscated at the station. They had traces of blood, which was tested. The blood came back as being Tierra's blood. On Thursday, June 14, 2018, Kelton Fox pled guilty to second-degree murder. He was sentenced to 12 to 15 years in prison. The police weren't able to prove that it was premeditated. However, the police believed Kelton had taken Tierra's phone knowing she would follow him. Kelton lured Tierra away from school and killed her. He was obsessed with her and knew that he couldn't have her. Tierra was able to scream once, but Kelton overpowered her. Kelton deserves a lot longer in prison. This crime stunned even seasoned investigators due to the brutality of the scene. Tierra was only 17 and had her whole life ahead of her. I don't think Kelton was well. He not only became obsessed with Tierra, but had dark thoughts about killing and being a savage. I think he created an alter ego and decided to act on it. My heart breaks for Kotea. She saw Tierra leave for school and never saw her again. I'm sure she's grateful for her time with her daughter and that she got to say one last "I love you." Laura Jean Ackerson was only 27 years old when she disappeared. Laura had 2 sons, who were about 2 and 3 when this occurred. Laura met the father of her children, a man named Grant Hayes. Grant was a musician and often traveled, which ended their relationship. Grant then moved on to a woman named Amanda Smith, an actress. Laura, Grant, and Amanda agreed to co-parent and that the boys would have equal time with each parent. Laura had been working with her good friend Siobhan Mathis to start a restaurant marketing business. Laura was excited about the future and wanted to have a good life for her and her sons. On Wednesday, July 13, 2011, Laura had a meeting at a restaurant called Bill's Grill. Siobhan tried contacting Laura, but she didn't answer. It was unusual because the two were in constant contact almost every day. Siobhan tried contacting Laura over the next few days. She also went over to Laura's apartment and discovered that her car was missing. On July 18th, Siobhan reported Laura missing. The police went to Laura's apartment. The apartment was clean and there was no sign of a struggle. It was clear to the police that Laura's kids were her life. Every part of her apartment was filled with toys and items that young children would love. Laura also had several plants that were dying from not being watered. It was obvious that Laura hadn't been there for several days. The police noticed that there were surveillance cameras near Laura's apartment, which was also by the exit. Laura was last seen on surveillance on July 13th around 8 a.m. when she left for her work meeting. The police had learned from Siobhan that Grant and Laura met every Friday at 5 p.m. for their custody exchange. The police contacted Grant and asked him if he had seen Laura. Grant said they were supposed to meet on July 15th at a Sheetz gas station in Raleigh, but Laura never showed up. The police went to the Sheetz gas station to obtain the surveillance footage. Grant and the boys entered the store, where Grant purchased cigarettes. They waited outside the store for a while, but Laura never showed up. By Tuesday, July 19th, information about Laura's disappearance was released to the media. The police received some information from Laura's friend, Oksana. She shared with them a voicemail she received from Laura on July 13th at 4:19 p.m. While they were meeting with Oksana, they received a phone call that Laura's car was found in an apartment complex in Raleigh. Laura's car ended up being found 400 yards from Grant and Amanda's apartment. The police checked Laura's car and trunk. There was nothing inside that suggested a struggle had occurred. The police were now able to determine that Laura disappeared between 4:19 to 7 p.m. on July 13th. They also believed Grant and Amanda knew more, or were most likely involved. The police decided to speak to Siobhan again. Siobhan told them that their custody exchange wasn't amicable. It was actually very contentious. Laura felt like Amanda wasn't very respectful of her. and that co-parenting wasn't working out. The police heard the same information from Laura's friend Heidi. Heidi told them that she didn't like Grant from the minute she met him. Grant acted like a good guy to the public, but was actually very narcissistic and controlling. Heidi said that their final court date for custody of their children was coming up. The police called Grant and asked if he'd be willing to speak with them. Grant told them no, as he was out of town. The police were able to obtain a search warrant for Grant and Amanda's apartment. On Wednesday, July 20th, 2011, the apartment was searched. The police immediately smelled bleach as soon as they opened the door. In the front room, there was a large bleach stain. The carpet was very dark, and the stain was lighter and really stood out. In the bathroom, the police also smelled bleach. There was no shower curtain, and the bathtub was so clean that it was described as being very shiny. There was a handwritten note with 2 handwriting samples. It appeared to be some kind of agreement. It said Grant was willing to pay Laura $25,000 in exchange for custody of their sons. Laura's signature was on it, and it was dated July 13th. One final clue that was found let the police know that something horrible had happened inside the apartment. One of the detectives found a manual for a reciprocating saw, which is usually used for remodeling. The police learned that a Walmart about 3 miles from the apartment sold the saw. The police learned that the saw was purchased by Grant on July 14th, around 2:30 a.m. Grant can be seen picking up the saw and purchasing it. He also purchased saw blades and gloves and returned to the same Walmart 2 days later. During his second trip, he purchased bags of ice and a cooler. The police had to find Grant and Amanda. They had tracked them to the home of Grant's parents in Kinston, North Carolina. The police set up surveillance on the house and obtained the couple's bank records. The police also received information from Amanda's daughter that they decided to take the boys on a last-minute trip and had rented a U-Haul. On July 16th, Grant purchased the U-Haul from the Capitol Boulevard location in Raleigh. Grant had made some odd comments to the employees. He told them that he was traveling to Texas for a fishing trip. He told them that he had coolers filled with fish bait. Grant seemed very calm and like he didn't have a care in the world. The police learned that Amanda's sister, Karen Perry, lived in Fort Bend, Texas. They believed that the couple was transporting Laura's body, or at least some evidence. The police traveled to Texas and spoke to Karen, who was expecting them. Karen asked the police if she could pray before she told them what she knew. Karen was very hesitant to talk about her sister. She eventually said that Amanda had told her that they hurt Laura. She and Grant had asked Karen if they could use a boat to take to the creek to go fishing. They also asked her if she knew if alligators could eat a human body. On Sunday, July 24th, 2011, a Houston dive team went to Oyster Creek. They found body parts, a human torso cut in half, and a skull. It was clear that something had been poured on the skull. The skull was more decomposed than the other parts. The medical examiner was able to use dental records to positively identify the remains as those of Laura Ackerson. By the time the remains were discovered, Grant and Amanda had already returned to North Carolina. On July 25, 2011, a SWAT team went to Grant's parents' home and arrested the couple. Grant and Amanda both revoked their rights and asked for attorneys. The police collected more evidence. On July 19th, Grant had purchased gallons of acid at Home Depot. Amanda was spotted on surveillance near her sister's home discarding the remaining acid. It's believed that Laura went to the Hayes apartment on July 13th. Grant had asked her about the custody offer, but Laura rejected it. A fight leading to Laura's death occurred, and the couple thought getting rid of her body would solve all of their problems. On September 16, 2013, Grant Hayes was convicted of first-degree murder. He was sentenced to life without the possibility of parole. During Amanda's trial, her defense was that she was afraid of Grant and that he forced her to help. However, the surveillance of her getting rid of the acid proved she wasn't under duress. On February 18, 2014, Amanda was found guilty of second-degree murder. She was sentenced to 13 years in prison. 4 years later, on August 21, 2018, a Texas court found Amanda guilty of tampering with a corpse. She was sentenced to an additional 20 years. This is a sickening case. How two people can murder, dismember, discard, and talk so freely about a dead person is disgusting. Also, they had the 2 young boys with them, while their mom's body was in some fucking coolers. It's gross. Grant and Amanda are horrible and they deserve to rot. Laura did everything she could for her sons and fought to get custody of them. Now the boys don't have their mom, dad, or stepmom.